Hey y'all, I just made a follow-up video to Melody Farris' verdict, which I hope is coming in today. And I just want to make the point, I could say probably in one word, that I think everybody is just oversimplifying all of Melody Farris's guilt. I think that if you were to sit there and deconstruct it like I did, you might arrive at some of the conclusions, or at the very least, reasonable doubt. So here's that video, because I thought about it even more and made some really good points, I think. And I'd be curious if you think they could maybe change your mind as well. Okay, here's the video. Thanks. Hey y'all, okay, I'm really excited because Monday, and I know they're going to have a verdict in the Melody Farris case, and the more I think about it, the more I think she's going to get off. Now, yesterday, I was in a chat, and I voiced my opinion about this. I didn't get into trouble, don't worry. I just kind of, said my piece, and that was it. I didn't argue. But I have so many reasons in my brain why I think she did not do this. Or, I don't know. I'll just lay them out for you and you can tell me what you think. So, the first reason is because I have seen couples do things. I've been watching trials for 45 years, y'all. I have seen couples do some really bad things to each other. Some stab them 100 times, cut them up, try to melt them with chemicals in a barrel, shoot them, get hitmen, you name it, and I have seen it. But 99% of the time, you know what's involved when they do that? When they get to that level of hate? A child custody battle. And we didn't have that here. So then the next thing sometimes is money. But as far as money goes, did she even know what she would get or what the state of the finances were? It doesn't seem so, because even Scott said that after they were looking for him, she's like, can you sign on the bank things? Like, she was going into a panic. Like, what if we don't find him? So don't you think if you were about to commit murder of your husband of 39 years, that you would have done some digging and tried to investigate to find out what you would be entitled to, how much the children were getting? Like, look at the wills, make an inquiry, for goodness sake. Do we have any evidence that she researched all that? And, she already bought everything she wanted. Gary didn't deny her anything. He, for all intents and purposes, you listen to the children and they're like, oh, he loved her. Right up to the end, he loved her. Now, she might have gotten on his nerves occasionally with her spending, but for the most part, she bought everything she wanted. And, there are men out there, even though y'all are like, oh, the affairs and da-da-da, but there are men out there, especially old school men from, married 40 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever it was. They can make excuses for the woman they love when they have affairs, and they can even stand behind them, and they can start to look inwardly and say, well, I was never there, I was always working, and they can still continue to love the mother of their children. I've seen that a lot of times as well. So you didn't have a two-way hate going on like the War of the Roses. She supposedly hated him, and I don't know that it was truly hate, but we do know that she couldn't have respected him, because anybody that so he got on her nerves that much. Excuse me, it's early. But I think that she never, okay, if you were asked, could your granddaughter come spend the night when you're just about to pull off this caper where you're going to shoot your husband and put him on the burn pile, or even if that wasn't her plan initially, I just don't think that you would say maybe tomorrow very casually, because you would know if you're going to kill her today, tomorrow's going to be a bad day as well. And I just think that she would know that you'd need more than 24 hours. So even if she was going to do this and then her plans got foiled because somebody's like, can your granddaughters come over? I don't think she would have gone ahead with it. I think she would have said, okay, it's got to wait for another day. There was no reason that it had to be done July the 4th. So that also makes me question, once she knew the granddaughters were coming, why would she do it anyway? That doesn't make sense. She spent this really nice day at the lake, and then she comes home and she's going to do this heinous act and burn his remains like trash. I mean, it just, I don't know, make it make sense. And it doesn't. And I have one other thought. Wait, let me think a second. And then, okay, so what if it was spur of the moment? I mean, like, heat of passion. She came downstairs or whatever, and he had a dirty dish on the counter, and that just set her off. To that degree, I mean, everybody would have been able to see how she would go off in the past, just lose it. I mean, you really got to lose it to kill someone because they got on your nerves for having dirty dishes, or what, you had it up to here. And there was nobody got on the stand and was saying how they had witnessed the arguing and the physical fighting and all the things that would lead up to it culminating in an act like this. So, I mean, and even think about it, like, how did she even think she would pull this off? I can't even imagine being that, I don't know. And don't forget, before she had the affairs, even the kids said she was a good, decent mom. She saw Scott off to war. She cried. I mean, I just can't put the two together no matter how hard I try. And also, lastly, you have to think about actually going through the motions of something like this. I mean, yeah, you could think it. You could hate somebody. You could be like, oh, I got to get out of this relationship, whatever it is. But to physically put a bullet in them and then drag their body or do whatever, however she did it, and put them on the fire, not even knowing if he was already dead, and setting him ablaze. Who could do that? I mean, don't you think there would be signs along the way that this was a very diabolical person? And I think the worst thing that they proved about Melody is that she was a real selfish woman. Full stop. And lastly, I think that everybody is so critical of her because she really didn't show a lot of emotion. But I think that's because in the end of the day, she was glad he was gone. I mean, she just kind of saw it as her out, I guess. But if she had fake cried and boo-hooed and carried on like Wendy did, would we be any more understanding? We would have seen right through that. And maybe she even watched the Wendy Adelson interview and was like, oh, I better not go that route. Because she might know that it's so obvious when somebody is being false and trying to muster up emotions that they don't really have. So you just don't know. So she just really didn't say anything. She never really said, what am I going to do without him? Like, she never, from what I could tell, she just went into the mode of more selfishness about her. It's all about her. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, maybe she did it, but if you could just show me some evidence where, I mean, she never even squashed a bug. She took care of animals. She was good to her family for many years. Good to Martha Jane. And that could have been just so she could be around Rusty. But, I mean, I think she could have managed to have her little flings with him without having to heart Martha Jane and listening to Martha Jane's stories, which, by the way, Martha Jane got on my nerves. I'm sorry. And having to, surround herself with Martha Jane at the price to be around Rusty. They could have just snuck off places. She didn't have to do that. So, I don't know. That's my take on it, y'all. I'm sure nobody agrees, but that's okay. But those are all my reasons. So if you ever see me, probably won't once this case is over, but if you ever see me taking up for Melody, those are the reasons. I'm not going to sit here and restate them in the chat because it's pointless, because everybody thinks she did it and she just needs to go away. Maybe she did. I don't know. But I always think about Jodi Arias. She showed signs all along the way from a very young age of how she was capable of what she did to Travis. But show me one sign that Melody was. That's all I got. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening. Bye.